All right, Sammy here. I'm going to do a quick demonstration on how to use audio clips if you don't have FL Studio's producer or signature version. So if you're using FL Fruity Edition, then you can use audio clips in the playlist, and that might pose some problems, but you can actually get past those. So if we imagine a situation where you want to use a loop, for example, so I have this synth kind of loop, and if we fit it to the tempo, we can see that it is in 120 BPM. It is playing for 8 bars. It sounds like this. But with Fruity Edition, you can just throw samples directly into here. So what we are going to do is we are going to drag the sample into a pattern. We are currently just using pattern 1, which is the only pattern we have, but we could make a new one like synth loop. And if we are not using this one, we can just drag in a new version and guess into the unsorted. But if you change this to all samples, you can see both versions here. So what we can do is we can just fill in the first beat here, and then when we select the patterns, we have the synth here, and we can press play. But there is a problem. This is in the wrong BPM. Our project is in 140 and the sample is 120. And if you listen to the metronome, they don't get aligned up. So basically what it looks like is this. Sorry. Well, before we made the BPM edit, we could see that the sample was a bit over the 8 bars we had. So that's basically the same thing that is happening here. It's playing at the wrong tempo compared to the project BPM. So what we need to do is we need to open the sample, and then here under time we are going to select auto detect, and then we are going to type in the BPM, so 120, and you can see that the time here now has changed a bit. So now when we listen to it, it is playing at the correct time, but the pitch is wrong. So we need to go back to the sample, and then we right click the pitch and we select reset. So now it should be playing at the right tempo and the right pitch. So if you compare it to this sample that has been already set into the right tempo, we can see that the notes in this one align. So now this is working perfectly. There's only one problem. Basically, what you need to do is you always need to start the playback before the first note hits. So if we start the playback at here, we'll just have silence. If the note is starting before our playback, it starts playing. One thing I like about FL Studio is how you can also chop samples. So if you don't want to play the whole thing, you can just chop the end of the note off. But with pattern clips, you need to do one extra step for it to be possible, because by default it is playing the whole sample. And here even you can see that after we are looping, it's still continuing to playing it. So that's not really handy at all. So what we can do is we remove the one note we have, we open the piano roll, and then at C5 we draw in a note that is 8 bars long, because that is how long the original sample is for us. But if we want to chop it up and play it in shorter sections, we can just draw it shorter, like 1 bar. And now you can see this is just 1 bar, but this is still not working. It keeps on playing even though the notes are ending. So we need to open up the sample and open up the envelope. And here in the envelope, it is basically mapping our MIDI to the audio sample playback. So we drop the attack to 0. We want it to start up immediately. Then we drop also hold, decay, put sustain into maximum, and release to 0. Or you can leave a tiny bit of release if you don't want to cut off the audio immediately after ending. But basically now, when we listen to this, it is ending exactly when the MIDI is ending. And what this means is you can actually play more with the samples even. But yeah, basically what I would recommend doing is figuring out how long your sample is, and then just make sure that your note is long enough if you are planning to play the full loops. And make sure that in the sample tab under time, you're using auto detect, and then you are typing in the BPM unless it's exactly the same as the project tempo. So if your sample is 140 BPMs, your project is in 140 BPMs, then you can just use the project tempo as well, but use auto detect. And remember to reset the pitch so that it returns back to the normal pitch it was in. Yeah, that's all. Thanks.